expected to play until Saturday. Willie McGee has made 45 career starts. This is number 46 in the postseason, and he's just committed 2 errors. McGee said, you know what, it's just another ball game. I've been here so often, and I'm just out here to do my job.
Well, Willie McGee got a thunderous ovation before the game, as did Ozzie Smith, who was not starting. Temperature at 80 degrees, almost a summer-like atmosphere, although now the sun is ducked behind the clouds. It's cooled off just a tad. But this feels like, well, if not midsummer in St. Louis, certainly late spring and not October the 1st. Here is no stranger to postseason, Ricky Henderson, to lead off against Todd Stottlemyre. And here we go. We're underway in the National League, so glad you could join us. Buck, basically, except for guys like Henderson, the Padres are a team that's up and coming. The Cardinals are a team as a whole that hasn't been in the postseason lately, but the individuals certainly have been there as Henderson skies it. Gary Gaetti, one of those fellows we're talking about, veteran postseason play, makes the play, and there is one. It'll be interesting to see how the younger Padres react vis-a-vis the more experienced Cardinals in October baseball.
Well, the Padres are really riding a high after that 3-game sweep of the Dodgers to win the National League West, and I'm pretty confident that they're going to be relaxed. Ken Caminiti, their leader, said, you know what, just another ball game. We got through all the tough stuff in L.A.
Now here is Tony Gwynn, who, of course, the lone holdover, at least on the field, from the only other Padre team to make the postseason in '84. Tony has just won his 3rd straight batting title, which, of course, makes it 7 overall. Only Ty Cobb, who won 12, and Honus Wagner, who won 8, have won more batting titles than this man. Tony winning it at .353, and that's when you throw in an automatic 0 for 4. He was 4 plate appearances shy to qualify for the batting title, but they gave him an 0 for 4. And he wins the title, and immediately he's 1 for 1 in this game. Into the corner, Brian Jordan will come up with it. Tony Gwynn with a 1-out double.
Now, the Padres are well aware that Stottlemyre will use his curveball often, and Tony Gwynn sat back on that back leg, watched the curveball break, and then went down and hooked it down the right field line. Look at how his head stays so still, and then he hooks it down into the corner. Brian Jordan had some trouble going into that corner, digging it out. But by the time he retrieves it and gets it back in, he still keeps Tony Gwynn at second base.
So that'll bring up Steve Finley, who hit 30 home runs this year for the Padres. And as we talk, as this game envelops Buck about Ken Caminiti and how he may very well win the MVP, right behind him is a guy that came over in the same deal from Houston with him, Steve Finley. It's like, as you call it, the MVP and the best supporting actor.
Well, that got it. Stottlemyre trying to come inside with a high fastball. Hits Finley, and that's not a bad thing. That's not a good thing for Stottlemyre. Watch this inside fastball. Pagnazzi slides to the inside and catches Finley right on the ribcage. He kind of spins out of the way and didn't take the full brunt of that pitch. But he sets the table for the man of the hour for the Padres.
Well, this is Ken Caminiti. 40 home runs, 130 RBIs, hit a .326. He led the National League in homers and RBIs after the All-Star break. One of 17 players to hit 40 home runs this year. And oddly enough, only 5 of them were in the postseason. See, there's a number that people miss.
Well, Caminiti said finally he is relaxed and enjoying these pressure situations. Always in the past, he had a tendency to tense up and demand too much of himself.
So that's the most important thing today, is that just continue to relax. You continue to have his teammates relax. Just play hard. Not worry about the enormity of the game. A check swing, and that's in a sea of red. A lot of red around here in St. Louis. Either the seats, or the hats, or the shirts, or the jackets, or the pants, the socks, or the sneakers worn by the fans that come from, a 7 or 8 state area. These are not small states. They drive a long way to support their beloved Cardinals. Breaking ball missed inside, but Frank Pulley at third base is no, sir.
Ken Caminiti is 0 for 7 against Todd Stottlemyre, and he said the reason he has so much trouble is because this curveball that he's checking his swing on comes out of his hand on the same plane as the fastball, and it's very difficult for Caminiti to pick up the spin on the curveball.
A lot of room down the third baseline. Gaetti shades him way over to shortstop. Clayton is moved around behind second a little bit. So Kemeneti does not often go down the left field line. There'll be a lot of room down there and certainly in the left field corner if he can do so. 2-2 pitch, breaking ball, swung on and missed. A big strikeout for Stottlemyre. There are 2 down.
Now, that was a high slider that he may have gotten away with. Kemeneti's eyes lit up when he saw that hanger, and he chased a high pitch. Great hitters like Kemeneti love to see this hanger, but that one may have been a little bit up for it. Stottlemyre threw it hard enough, but he didn't get much break on it. You see it's up around the letters and just kind of stayed up there.
Well, that'll bring up Wally Joyner with 2 outs and 2 aboard. Joyner is such a big part in the Padres' success. Ground ball to Alicea. Grabs. And Todd Stottlemyre and the Cardinals wriggle free. There are a pair aboard, but Kemeneti and Joyner retired, heading to the bottom of the first. No score. And certainly his first tour of duty in the National League, a huge success. Tony La Russa's FedEx lineup for the St. Louis Cardinals, and they can FedEx it if the Rabbits atop the lineup get aboard. Royce Clayton, the former Giant, starts at shortstop. Ozzie waiting in the wings. Me and Willie McGee, the center fielder. Ron Extravagant in left field. Brian Jordan hits cleanup in right field. Only the second Cardinal in the 90s to have a 100 RBI season. Gary Gaetti, the longtime Minnesota Twin, played brilliantly this year at third base. John Mabry, the young first baseman. Todd Pagnazzi is the catcher. Luis Alicea in Wonderland at second base. Todd Stottlemyre is the pitcher, batting ninth, going against the fireballing right-hander, former #1 draft pick, Joey Hamilton.
Padres are very concerned about Joey Hamilton and his emotions in this first inning. If he can keep his emotions in check and get through this first inning, he should have a very good game. 33 starts during the regular season, 15-9. The thing about Joey Hamilton is they call his stuff electric. 19 home runs, but he has really been able to curtail a home run in his last 17 starts. 184 strikeouts. He is a power pitcher. His fastball will be up into the mid-90s. Good curveball, slider, and a changeup.
Down the right field was off in front of Tony Gwynn. So Royce Clayton is aboard. Royce Clayton came into a tough situation here this year. Supposedly to replace, and one day he will replace, a legend and certainly a civic treasure. And speaking of which, Willie McGee isn't that far behind Ozzie Smith in the civic treasure category, Buck.
Willie McGee is taking over in center field today, and you can see a very appreciative Cardinal crowd here recognizing McGee as he steps into the box.
His second tour of duty as a Cardinal has been a big success. McGee playing, as Buck pointed out, because of Ray Lankford's injury in center field. He is on the roster if you missed it earlier. They hope by the weekend he will at least be able to pinch hit. Royce Clayton can move. McGee won the MVP in 1985. Remember in 1982 when he was a rookie, Game 3 against the Brewers in the World Series, Buck? 2 homers and 2 spectacular catches. Endeared himself to St. Louis crowds immediately, and they've never forgotten.
Well, anytime you have that kind of success in the postseason, people are going to remember for a long time. And they were very happy to see McGee come back here in this role-playing situation.
Breaking ball to McGee, slices foul. McGee won 2 batting titles here, but the second one is odd. He won, of course, in '85 his MVP season. He won also in 1990. But just before the September 1st, he became an Oakland A to join Tony La Russa. But his average stood up there and nobody could catch him. He won the batting title in absentia in the National League. Ground ball to Jody Reed. Gomez on to Joyner. Double play. Taylor made.
Jody Reed, a veteran infielder here, enjoying this tandem. Chris Gomez came over in that deal with the Tigers. And Clayton is retired on the double play. Willie McGee hits it sharply, but right on the ground at Reed. He takes it with the easy underhand toss to Chris Gomez coming across the bag, and that's a huge double play for Joey Hamilton to enable him to settle in here a little bit in the first.
That'll bring up Ron Gant. 30 home runs this year, 82 RBIs. No stranger to the postseason. We've been with the Braves, the young Braves. Arrived really in the way the Padres. Oh! Wow, that one just didn't break, didn't move. Moved right into Gant's back. So each pitcher has hit a batter in the first inning. Welcome to October, boys.
Well, neither one of these managers or the pitchers are timid. Todd Stottlemyre in the American League was well known about his ability to come inside and get you with a little chin music. This is a fastball. He dropped down and hit Ron again right on the pocket. Maybe trying to send some messages early.
Yeah, if you're going to send one, nobody on with 2 outs. Well, it just looked like it didn't move on. And this is Brian Jordan, who would like to make Hamilton pay for it. Jordan, a former Atlanta Falcon defensive back who once was an alternate to the Pro Bowl in '92. I mean, this is a serious football player who had to make his choice eventually and chose baseball. And you've seen this coming for years, but this year was his bust-out season. Not as if he hadn't produced before, but this year the personable Jordan told everyone that, you know, what could have been a real good football player, and who knows, but he certainly didn't make a mistake coming to this point. We should point out he had 22 homers and 296 last year. So it's not a surprise. But he's really a leader on this team.
Well, yeah, he became Tony La Russa's kind of liaison in the locker room. And La Russa said, you know what, he was a lot like Dave Stewart and Dave Henderson I had in Oakland. Guy that could really go to the rest of the team and try to get my message across.
Here's some heat that Jordan couldn't come up with. 90-mile-an-hour heat.
You know, that's important, that mile per hour, because the Padres feel that Hamilton is better when he's just over 90, because then he's not muscling the ball. When he muscles it and gets it up about 95, 96, it has a tendency to straighten out.
Well, he may have surgery after the season. He has the tender arm, and the best thing that happened to them was at least getting into the playoffs on Saturday and giving Hamilton a couple extra days rest so that he did not have to go on Sunday in Los Angeles. Play in the upper deck. Now, this is a bizarre series, Buck, and fans, this is the only one where there's 2 days off, barring rainouts. Game in St. Louis today, game in St. Louis Thursday, games in San Diego Saturday, Sunday, Monday. The reason we bring it up is that 7 days to play the 5 games, and if the Padres were in trouble, Hamilton could come back and work game 4 in this series, but with decent rest. Well, normally that'd be out of the question.
Well, run against somebody that Joey Hamilton has to keep his eye on. He's 13 for 17 this year. Obviously, both of these clubs looking to get an early advantage.
Again, obviously not the speed and the wheels on the base paths that he once was, when he twice was a 30-30 man for the Braves. But still, he understands the art of base stealing. And the Cardinals will run and certainly test Brian Johnson. That's something I'm sure Tony La Russa will do at every opportunity he has, Buck.
Yeah, Brian Johnson is playing because John Flaherty sprained his ankle Saturday. And he is on the roster, but not quite ready yet.
Ripped up the middle, base hit for Jordan. Gant will stop at second base as Finley, as usual, charges the ball quickly. But now, as the Padres did in the first, the Cardinals have 2 aboard.
Pretty good hitting with 2 strikes. Brian Jordan showing his maturity. Just goes right back up the middle and puts the ball in play. That chases Ronnie Gant to second. Take a look at this swing. The ball is in on him a bit. He fights it off and drives it up the middle. Pretty good 2-strike approach. Ronnie Gant is going into second base thinking about maybe third base, but Finley comes up with a cleaner.
When the Cardinals beat the Padres 8 of 12 this year, the man at the plate, Gary Gaetti, has done the damage. 5 5 home runs against the Padres this year. And every guy on the Padres, from the players to the coaches, started shaking their heads when Gaetti's name came up. There's a good pitch.
Now they got the slider down and away, and at this point Joey Hamilton with that good fastball is going to force Gary Gaetti to kind of guess with him. Here it looked like Gaetti was thinking fastball, and you see how badly he missed that slider.
Hits this one to right center field. Back goes Finley. Back he goes. Gone! The G-Man has done it again. 6 home runs now for Gary Gaetti against the Padres this season. He just sits on fastballs or waits for a breaking ball that doesn't break. Whatever it is, he's in the zone. The Padres feared him, and for good reason.
It looked like another breaking ball, maybe a changeup. It looked like a changeup that he reached for on the outer half of the plate. You can see that he thinks he's got a chance all the way down to the first base bag. And then when he sees it go over the wall, the Cardinals have an early 3-run lead.
A little looper behind shortstop that Gomez snares, so John may be retired. But where the Padres could not come through, Gaetti comes through. 3-run home run for the G-Man. 3-0 St. Louis. For the Redbirds has given them a 3-0 lead here after 1 inning. Gary Gaetti doing it again. His 4th postseason home run. First 3 obviously with the Twins. And this one has given Todd Stottlemyre an early 3-run bowl. Chris Gomez grounds to his shortstop counterpart. Royce Clayton 1 up, 1 down in the second. Joey Hamilton that time, Buck. Gaetti has made the whole pitching staff pay for it, but that was a pitch that was, they didn't do much with it.
Looked to me like a high changeup, and I really question throwing changeups to Gary Gaetti. His bat has lost a little bit of its bat speed, and he's very good out over the plate, anything off speed. Great mistake hitter.
This is Brian Johnson, the catcher, an off-speed pitch by Stottlemyre. One other note on Gaetti. I mean, this was also the year of the home run. He'll lost in some of the big names sitting there 300th home runs this year, as you look at Brian Johnson. And he rips it to center field, but it's going to be right of Willie McGee. Actually, Willie came in a minute, thought about it, stood there, and made the play 2 out, and that'll bring up Jody Reed. But back to Gaetti a minute. I mean, 5 guys hit their 300th lifetime homer this year. The guys like Barry Bonds, Mark McGwire, Darryl Strawberry, Fred McGriff. Oh, by the way, Gary Gaetti also hit his 300th home run. You know, but there's only 73 that have ever done it. And he's just continuing a season that has been brilliant throughout. Jody Reed, the former Red Sox second baseman, sends it to center. Willie McGee's there, a 1-2-3 inning for Todd Stottlemyre. Heading to the bottom of the second at St. Louis, 3-0 Cardinals. So that's why we stand 3-0 St. Louis here in the bottom of the second. Gaetti came through with 2 on and 2 out, where the Padres could not. They had 2 aboard in the first inning. Tony Gwynn had a double, and then they had a hit by pitch. Caminiti and Joyner were retired. Instead, as Pagnozzi gets struck out, Gaetti came through with a 2-out home run. The Padres went quietly in the top of the second on 5 pitches, and that brings you up to date. Our FedEx lineup for the Cardinals is Luis Alicea, the number 8 hitter, comes up with 1 out here in the second. Royce Clayton started with the single, then McGee. In center field, Ron Gant was hit by pitch. Brian Jordan with a single. It really was a FedEx lineup. It got there in a hurry. And Gary Gaetti, Mabry, Pagnozzi, Alicea, and Stottlemyre. Inside out swing by Alicea, but Ricky Henderson, playing him short in left field, makes the play, and there is 2 outs. So Joey Hamilton looks to settle down here, Buck Martinez.
Well, that one bad pitch to Gary Gaetti looked like a high changeup that Gaetti hammered into the seats in the center, and they were concerned about the first inning, whether Joey Hamilton would be able to really harness his emotions. Home runs have really been not a problem for Hamilton. In the last 17 starts of the regular season, he had allowed just 4 home runs. So that home run, a bit of a surprise, although not surprised that Gaetti hit one off.
So again, for those just tuning in, Cards beat the Padres 8 out of 12 times this season. Gaetti had 5 home runs during the regular season. So this is now the 6th time that he's gone deep against the Padres pitching staff. He has been a one-man wrecking crew. Hey, Todd Stottlemyre, for a guy that played his entire career in the American League with Toronto and Oakland, he can handle the bat, Buck. He's hit .227 this season.
Well, he's got 15 hits, and all the while he was in the American League, he kept saying, you know, I can hit.
There's a big cut.
Now, that's a problem for him. He said recently he's been using his Reggie Jackson stance instead of his George Brett stance.
You're surprised that he swings at the plate the way he goes to the mound and just fires away?
He's a ball player. He loves to be able to contribute with a bat as well. He and Hamilton hooked up here for a great game back in August. They both worked 8 innings of 4-hit ball. Hamilton had a hit off Stottlemyre, and Stottlemyre had a hit off Hamilton.
Ball up and away. Count is full with 2 outs and the bases clear. Bottom of the 2nd on a beautiful day. Temperatures were up a little while ago to 80 degrees here in St. Louis. The shadow now approaching home plate, and that will become a big part of this afternoon's game. As all October day games, the shadows do. Who knows what evil lurks?
Well, that shadow right there is going to creep right out in between the home plate and the pitcher's mound, and when it does that, it causes problems for the hitters.
Wow, Stottlemyre thought he got aboard. Hamilton gets the strike. We played 2. 3-0 St. Louis.
Again, everyone, Gary Miller with you in our ESPN Major League Baseball studios. The American League game in Baltimore has ended, and so we are going to rejoin the National League game back over on ESPN now. Those of you that want to continue to watch.
Stadium in St. Louis, the Cardinals, a 3-run homer by Gary Gaetti, the third baseman, in the first inning when 2 were down. And Buck, it was a ball that we weren't sure would carry all the way out of the park. It at least looked like a double, but Finley gave it a run. Couldn't come up with it, and Gaetti has done it to the Padres again.
Now, this is what the Cardinals wanted to do here in their home opener, is jump out on front against a very tough pitcher, Joey Hamilton. And Gaetti, to me, looked like he got a high changeup out over the plate, and it was a pitch that he could really drive. Gaetti playing in his first postseason since '87 with the Twins, when he was part of that great ball club with Kent Herbeck and Frank Viola and Bert Blyleven.
Well, he was the enemy in this park then. The Twins beat the St. Louis Cardinals in '87, although they did not win one game here. They, of course, won all 4 of those games at home. 1, 2, 6, 7. This is Joey Hamilton to bat against Todd Stottlemyre. You mentioned, Buck, that they each got a hit off each other. Hamilton this year has a home run. 1 homer, 4 RBIs, and 162. So both these pitchers can handle the bat.
Hamilton hit that home run in Monterrey, Mexico against Paul Wilson of the Mets. And it was on the day that Ken Caminiti came off the doctor's table after taking those intravenous bags, got up, hit 2 home runs, and it must have been inspiring for Hamilton to see Caminiti's act.
Stottlemyre has his number there. Yeah, I think taking some tacos intravenously down there. Here's the FedEx lineup for Bruce Bochy and the San Diego Padres. As we go to the top of the order now, Ricky Henderson leads off. Tony Gwynn doubled. Steve Finley hit my pitch, but Caminiti and Joyner were retired and the first. Chris Gomez, the shortstop. Brian Johnson, the catcher. Jody Reed at second base. And then you saw Hamilton strike out. So each pitcher also with a pair of strikeouts thus far. Each pitcher striking out the other. We move to the top of the order, and Ricky Henderson pop up to Gaetti to start the game. Yeah, Ricky Henderson this year, I'm talking to some of the Padre players. You know, no one was sure the attitude. I mean, it's always been questioned, rightly or wrongly, about Ricky. As he skies it, Clayton out, Gant in. Royce makes the call and makes the catch. And Tony Gwynn said, when I saw Ricky Henderson here 3 days in spring training before we were supposed to report, that's when I knew we were onto something.
He knew that if Ricky was ready to play, everything was going to be all right in San Diego. And to a man, the Padres say Ricky Henderson has been nothing short of exceptional. He has really joined into this team atmosphere.
Well, that'll bring up Tony Gwynn, and I'd like to talk a minute about consistency. May I, Buck? His lifetime average following the batting championship this year is .337. The double in the first inning gives him a postseason lifetime average of .333. I mean, that's 1984, and his next postseason at bat is 1996. Nothing's changed.
Just another ball game for Tony. He expects to get 2 or 3 every day.
When, of course, Tony had the big hit Saturday at Los Angeles when the Padres nailed down the postseason bid. And there's his brother Chris the Mighty Gwynn, who had the big hit Sunday in the 11th inning, the double that got them to the Western Championship. And the reason I bring it up is Tony said that was his proudest day as a baseball player, watching his brother give his team, the Padres, the National League West crown. That was just a great comment. Ripped, but Alicea backhands it. And another 1-2-3 inning for Todd Stottlemyre. We head to the bottom of the third in St. Louis. 3-0 reset. A couple of buds might be whopped today here at Busch Stadium. And Ozzie Smith, who has seen it all here in St. Louis, and Ray Lankford, who would love to be out there playing center field, Buck, but he's going to have to wait.
Well, he tore his rotator cuff here on Friday night, making a diving catch in center field, and they waited until the last possible moment today to include him on the active roster, so he should be able to play by Saturday. 21 home runs and 86 ribbies. He scored 100 runs. That leads the club, so they're anxious to get him back in the lineup.
Well, for lots of reasons, as Royce Clayton begins. Oh, and Jody Reed makes a snaring grab of a liner by Royce Clayton, who was bidding for his second hit. Jody Reed has had a huge September for this squad, and you're seeing it in the field right there.
Now, Jody Reed has been in these postseason situations before, and he timed that jump perfectly. This looks like it was headed toward the alley in right center. A line drive off the bat of Royce Clayton. And look at Reed go high to snare that ball for the first out of the inning.
So that'll bring up Willie McGee. And you saw Ozzie, and Willie McGee has experienced just about as much as Ozzie in this postseason here in St. Louis. He was here for all 3 World Series runs in the 80s. Down the left field side. You know, when the Cards get in the postseason, when you think about it, their fans don't get cheated. All those series in 82 and 85 and 87 went the maximum, went 7 games. And except for a playoff sweep of the Braves in 82, 6-game series with the Dodgers in the NLCS and 7 with the Giants, which Jose Oquendo had the grand slam in game number 7. But that's old news. The new news to be forged by players like Brian Jordan. 1-2 pitch to McGee, chops it foul. Certainly Tony La Russa had him in Oakland, welcomed him back with open arms here this year, Buck.
Well, La Russa said he didn't do a very good job of explaining the situation to his guys that didn't know him, about how intense he was, about how much he expected. He expects a lot once you get onto the field.
In the hole, Joyner with a nice play, and over to Hamilton. Good defense by the Padres here in the third.
Well, Wally Joyner has made a dramatic impact on the defense of the Padres here. Look at the range as Joyner goes all the way over to the second baseman's position, gloves it, and fires a strike to Joey Hamilton covering the bag at first base. Joyner's got a great glove, and not only fielding balls like that, but taking those low throws out of the dirt. He has really made an impact.
He broke his left thumb on June 2nd. The Padres went 4-18 in the first 22 games without him. Lost 7.5 games in the standings, so nobody has to say how valuable he was. Uh-oh, now Gant, remember, was plunked in the first inning by Hamilton, and
watch Ronnie Gant after this pitch. Up and in, he has to duck out of the way. And then he turns and looks at Hamilton as if to say, man, what is this all about? Hamilton, well, talking to himself right now, and that got Tony La Russa's attention. Well, he's got the right guy on the mound for him in Todd Stottlemyre.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, this is not exactly a game pitched by a pair of feeble pitchers.
This type of thing will get rid of first game jitters, that's for sure. It'll get you down to thinking regular season. Joey Hamilton hit Ron Gant the first time up, and then threw one up and in, and Gant ducked away from the second time, and La Russa and Stottlemyre are paying real close attention here.
Gant rips it past the diving Caminetti. Base hit with 2 outs for Ronnie Gant, who's now been aboard both times.
Now that's the best way to send your message. Get a base hit. Keep the inning alive. Ron Gant got an inside fastball and turns on it and hits it through the left side of the infield by Caminetti.
4th Cardinal hit. And when you add the hit by pitch to Gant, 5 of the Cards, 5 of the first 12 Cardinals have reached base. Brian Jordan, base hit up the middle his first time up. Breaking ball, down and in, down and away. Jordan waved at it.
Look at the shadows here now between home plate and the mound. Hamilton is in sunshine. The ball is bright when it comes out of his hand, but by the time it gets to Jordan at the plate, it's in shadows again. Tough to pick up the spin on the ball.
So you're saying that home run in the first inning, not only was it important because it's a 3-0 lead, but now here in these middle innings, going to be tough for the Padre hitters to maybe come back. It's tougher to amass some runs.
Well, when the sun shines brightly in the background, that ball really gets lit up, and then you're standing in the shade, and it's difficult to really pick the ball up that well. It was a problem for the Padres. You see that background in center in the sunshine, and then the batter's in shade, and that's a strobing effect.
Here goes the base runner. Johnson's throw, not in time. Ron Gant has stolen second base.
And Brian Johnson throwing out just 18% of the runners trying to steal against him this year. Ron Gant, 13 for 17 with 2 outs, gets a big stolen base to get himself into scoring position. Take a look at the jump at first base. Not a great jump. He looks at home, sees there's going to be a play, the head first slide and the tag. Very aggressive player here. He grabs onto second base and then holds on as Jody Reed was late with the tag.
Slider missed outside.
See, the major league average for catchers 26%. Brian Johnson more noted for his bat.
Jordan, a little looper to center field. Finley makes the catch. It's the daily great catch by Steve Finley, certainly saving a run. So the Padres with some serious defense that inning. Finley with the backhander keeps the score at 3-0 St. Louis. Back here in St. Louis, Chris Berman along with Buck Martinez. Game 1, Padres and Cardinals. Gary Gaetti's 3-run homer in the bottom of the first. That's the reason the Cards are up 3-0 behind Todd Stottlemyre on the teeth of the Padre order. Finley, Caminetti, Joyner. 3, 4, 5. And even though Finley is a number 3 hitter, is at 30 home runs, Gary Gaetti cheating in on the grass in case Finley, who runs well, wants to drop one down. How often do you see it? The player that makes the big catch to end the inning in the field leads off at the plate.
Seems like that was something they started a long time ago, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. A tradition continues here at Busch Stadium. I bet you that happened at Sportsman's Park and other venues of baseball. With Todd Stottlemyre pitching with the lead, and Buck through 3 innings has only pitched 29 pitches compared to Hamilton's 47. Gaetti gives it a chase through the Padre dugout, on the dugout, and about 20 rows back. Defensively, boy, the Padres kept themselves in the game. Jody Reed snaring Royce Clayton's line drive. And Wally Joyner makes the perfect play over to Joey Hamilton to get Willie McGee. And then with a runner certainly scoring in the person of Ron Gant, Steve Finley robbed Bryant Jordan. So the Padres, we told you at the outset they could catch it. There's his battle scar there. I mean, that defense definitely kept them to within 3 runs. Oh, we went around.
Well, Steve Finley trying to hold that bat back. Stottlemyre threw him ball 4, but Finley chased a fastball out of the strike zone, and that would have been something to get the Padres started. You see how Finley starts his swing, tries to shut it down, but he goes too far. Stottlemyre gets a strikeout on a high fastball.
3 strikeouts now for Stottlemyre, and Ken Caminiti, his first strikeout victim, to step up. Of his 40 home runs, he can hit him from either side. $15 of them righty, 25 lefty, if I'm not mistaken. And of course, he has hit home runs from both sides of the plate 3 times in a 4-game span a year ago. So, whereas some guys have better power numbers from one side at the other, not the case with Caminiti.
When he commits a swing from either side of the plate, it is full bore. He sees something he likes and he unloads. You know, Stottlemyre has been up throughout most of this ball game. He really hasn't thrown too many real good breaking balls yet. He hasn't got through his delivery, although the numbers would really support Stottlemyre's good outing, but I think he's flirting with danger, but in that he's up a lot.
Caminiti draws a 1-out walk. That's the first walk issued by Todd Stottlemyre. He's hit a batter. And Dave Duncan, longtime pitching guru for Tony La Russa, doing the charting. Andy Bennis tomorrow's, or I should say Thursday's starter, sitting right next to Dunk. And there's the Merchant of Bennis pitching against the team that drafted him #1. Samir's back. We'll have a lot of thoughts going through his head Thursday afternoon here. John and Joe will be here for that game.
Boy, Andy Bennis had 2 distinctly different seasons. He got up to a 1-7 start and really got it turned around.
Of course, he, another one of the Cardinals with postseason experience, was with the Mariners last year. Had a big hand in with the Mariners, getting to the postseason, pitching behind Randy Johnson. Wally Joyner made the big play we showed you again. Grounded to second in the first inning. Well, he came in with a bang in '86 with California, didn't he? And he made the postseason his rookie year with the Angels, and he told me, you know, I thought that's the way it was going to be every year. Had a big year in the postseason. The older guys on that team were saying, no, Wally, it's not going to be that way. Yeah, what do you know? Well, it's taken him 10 years, and he's finally made it back.
And he actually missed most of that series because he played the first 3 games at .455, and then he was hospitalized with a staph infection in his leg. So he said one thing he wants to do in this postseason is play more than 3 games.
One thing he wants to do is win. That was the Angels' 3-1 lead over the Red Sox, but then the Red Sox came back to win it and get into their own trouble in the next round in the postseason. But those of us who live in New England don't really want to bring that up. I'm sorry. Joyner to center field. Willie McGee is there. Willie's made 3 putouts in center field. Caminiti back to first base. Tonight on ESPN, following our game, we'll have SportsCenter and also at its regular start time at 11 o'clock. If you're looking for the Rangers and the Yankees, you can see it on NBC. Joe will be working that game on NBC. And then baseball tonight. I guess that's Ravi tonight with Peter Gammons doing 22-hour days in the studio. Ravi and Gary Miller and Peter Gammons, and we get reporters at all of the series. Chris Gomez pops it to John Mabry, foul ground. Stottlemyre continues his mastery of the Padres, heading to the bottom of the 4th, 3-0 St. Louis. I can hear the ovation bounding off the buildings in downtown St. Louis as Gary Gaetti gets set to lead off the 4th inning. His 2-out, 3-run homer in the first inning is all the runs we've had in this game. And Joey Hamilton starts him up top with a fastball. Again this year now, including this game, 6 homers, 15 RBIs in 12.5 games against the Padres. So he has been, as we told you at the outset, a one-man wrecking crew. A chance Buck to meet his sons, Joe, who's 14, and 11-year-old Jake before the game. And He says, I'm so excited because they really don't remember me playing in the World Series in '87. Jake was 2 and Joe was 5. Jordy Reed again, Johnny on the spot. Guides hit the ball hard twice, but he's so proud to have his sons with him and watch it. And they say, well, we saw Dad on the video. So this will be a little different today.
Now, he homered in his first 2 championship series at bats against Doyle Alexander back in '87 and was the MVP in that series. But this will be a great memory for his sons here at Busch Stadium.
Yeah, he was with California in '91 when the Twins won their second World Series here of this run with Tom Kelly. John Mabry. Chris Gomez makes the catch on the outfield grass. Boy, that was out of the shade and into the sun for Gomez.
Gomez was picked up mid-season to give them some consistency on defense and shortstop, and it really proved to be a very good move for Kevin Towers, the GM. He really shored up the defense and gave them a little more production in the bottom of the lineup. That plus the fact that John Flaherty, the catcher, was included in the deal really made it a trade that may have turned the season around for the Padres.
Yeah, the trade that certainly turned their entire franchise around was made when they got Caminiti and Finley and more in the deal with the Houston Astros. They sent over a pretty good player, obviously, in Derek Bell. I mean, they gave up things. They'll Plantier, but there's no question Caminiti, Finley, etc. The Padres have been a different ball club ever since. And what's nice is to see the Padres, as Bagnazzi fouls it down the right field line. I mean, Tony Gwynn and I were talking about this, Buck, is that he bought into, hey, we're going to rebuild and one day we'll be okay. We just really didn't think he'd be around when, not that they got decent now, not that they became 500, but figured it would take 4 or 5 years. He kind of stuck it out and they surrounded him with talent, and that's why they're back in the postseason. Great rebirth in that city. And inside to Pagnazzi, and there's Kevin Towers. Of course, Randy Smith before that. Kevin was the director of the scouting before he became GM, so he certainly knew exactly what they have and what they didn't have. Well, that scene, Buck, in San Diego this weekend will be tremendous on Saturday, Sunday, and Monday if they play all day.
Well, it sure will. It's been a long time since 1984, the last time the Padres played in the postseason. Bruce Bochy was on that ball club. He actually got a base hit in the World Series against the Tigers in his only at bat. But, you know, Kevin Towers and Randy Smith, because of their relationship working together in the front office, were able to converse about this deal. First of all, it was the shortstop. We need a shortstop. How about Chris Gomez? Okay, we'll trade you Cedeno for Gomez. You know what? We need a catcher, too. How about that deal? Randy Smith had drafted Osmus, and he was the guy he wanted, so he made that trade.
Now, the 1-2 inning that time for Joey Hamilton. He played 4. 3-0 Redbirds. Top of the 5th inning here in St. Louis. A sea of red. Very happy with what they've seen thus far. The Cards led at 3-0 over the Padres in game 1 of this division series. Here's where the Padres lineup, Buck, Martinez, does not appear to be very impressive. I mean, when they go with Ricky Henderson, you get a lot in left, but you lose the power of a Greg Vaughn. And from Gomez, 6th, and now Johnson, Reed, and Hamilton, 6, 7, 8, 9. There's really not a lot of threat there.
No, that's where they were looking to add some pop, and Greg Vaughn came over from the Brewers. At the time, Tony Gwynn was in a cast, and they didn't know how he was going to react after having that Achilles tendon problem. There's a nasty slider from Stottlemyre.
I mean, with Johnson playing, and there's Stottlemyre, who, of course, is working on the one-hitter. Came in with an 0-3 postseason lifetime record, and he was bound and determined to change that.
Well, I talked to him, and he said, you know what, I'd love the opportunity to get my team on the right track. You can see his postseason career record, 9 games, 0-3. But in the past, he was very emotional, and he would allow all the hype involved around the postseason games to get to it, and felt like he had to be better in the postseason than he was during the regular season. That caused him problems.
Oh, breaking ball is in there, says Jim Quick. Brian Johnson disagreed. Stottlemyre with strikeout number 4.
Well, he comes sidearm on this breaking ball, and he doesn't get a whole lot of break on it, but it fools Brian Johnson to the point where he can't pull the trigger. Johnson looked back at the umpire. He felt like it curved around the plate, but Stottlemyre has his 4th strikeout.
I'm sure his dad Mel is watching from New York as the Yankees get ready to start their postseason run against the Rangers tonight. And while his dad is afar, Jody Reed looks at strike one. Todd's wife is here. Well, excuse me, check swing hopper that Clayton looks very smooth on, makes the play, and there's 2 outs.
That's Sherry Stottlemyre sitting here watching her husband Todd work against the Padres. And the Stottlemyres have been through this before with the Toronto Blue Jays, of course, World Series in '92 and '93. And you mentioned Todd's father Mel down in New York, and they talk a lot. They talked a lot during the stretch when the Cardinals were struggling a bit, just like the Yankees. Todd would tell his dad, you know, Dad, you're going to hang on? Oh, yeah, we'll be all right. You guys going to hang on? Yeah, we're going to hang on.
0-2 ahead of Hamilton. Of course, father and son are the all-time leaders in the father-son list for wins. 261 wins for the Stottlemyres. They passed Dizzy and Steve Rainbow Trout this year. 258. So a pair of strikeouts here in the 5th inning that gives Stottlemyre 5. We're midway through, and the Cards have a 3-0 lead. Look at the old courthouse, and the Cardinals holding court thus far here in Busch Stadium. Fans are delighted, but it settled down to an old-fashioned pitcher's duel. It was 8-9-1 for the Cards in the 5th inning. Alicea, Stottlemyre, and Clayton bat against Joey Hamilton, who was retired 10 of his last 11. Todd Stottlemyre has retired 14 of his last 15. Check that. This one is an alley shot. And Steve Finley. Alicea to second base. He's thinking about 3, but Finley with the throw into Gomez, and Alicea will hold for a double.
Larry Alicea hit .600 last year for the Red Sox in the postseason, and that had something to do with why he ended up here with the Cardinals. You see, he's got an eye on that ball. Then he sees it go by the center fielder, Steve Finley, all the way to the wall. He's hustling into second base, sizing up the situation, and decides to throw on the brakes and be satisfied with the leadoff double. He has played well for the Cardinals in the second half.
Well, also bring up Todd Stottlemyre, and probably no question about what he's going to do. And look at Caminetti and Joyner. They're about 45 feet from the plate right now. Strike called by umpire Jim Quick. Now, very quickly, you can get to it, and we should say we're glad to see these fellas working. Jim Quick behind the plate, Jerry Davis at first, Danny DeMuth at second base, Frank Pulley, one of the best at third, Greg Bonet is right field line, and the crew chief Harry Wendelstedt is in left field. Bunted foul. If you missed it earlier, the umpires got a hearing called by Gene Budick, president of the American League. That'll happen on Thursday, and the off day of the Orioles-Indian series involving the Robbie Alomar incident over the weekend. A very unfortunate incident involving Alomar and umpire John Hirschbeck. The umpires have agreed to work games 1 and 2 of all the series, and they'll see what happens. They have not said what will happen afterwards, but it's good to see these guys. Hence the delay in all the games today. The Orioles game started 20 minutes later, and we started about 25 minutes later. A big win by the Orioles, Buck, over the defending American League champs. We saw them sputtering until Mark Parent hit the homer in Boston, and they've been a different club ever since.
That was a huge spark for the Orioles, and it looks as though they're riding the momentum into that series against the Indians. They got him hung up.
Caminetti.
Whoa. Oh, he's dropped the ball. Alicea is now safe at third base.
And the Padres look like they're a little bit tight right now. Alicea got hung up after the bunt attempt by Stottlemyre. He drifted too far off the bag. Watch Alicea, top of your screen. Brian Johnson sees this. Gomez comes in behind him. Initially, Gomez double clutched, and then they get him in a rundown here. Now, Caminetti tags him, but the ball pops out. Gomez still has a chance to get him at third, but he can't find the handle. Alicea gets in a rundown right there. If he continued to third, he may have been safe initially. Now watch Caminetti. Very sure-handed. Boom, the ball comes out, but Gomez still has a chance to throw it to third and get him. but he can't come up with the play.
So isn't it amazing that you strike out on a strike 3 bunt attempt, but it's as if the sacrifice was laid down.
It could have been a double play, and it would have been nobody on 2 outs. But now Joey Hamilton continues to sweat here. Cardinals already up by 3, and Chris Bochy knows that he can ill afford to fall further behind. Stottlemyre gets a strikeout, but he moves the runner up. Look at a little bit of contact here. The forearm pops the ball loose. Alicea sees it and hustles over to third base. Gomez had a chance but couldn't come up with it. It's a caught stealing and an error on Caminetti.
Now the infield is way in to try and pinch off this run. Of course, Royce Clayton will just trying to hit a fly ball. Hamilton tries to keep Alicea honest. Caminetti playing well off the bag. Not much chance of that succeeding. Everybody on the grass in the Padre infield. Hamilton comes into Clayton. Strike 1. Now the Shadows at least have gotten out of, well, they've gotten up to the base paths on the left field side, the third base side. You can see all the way in the Shadows to Steve Finley. But there's a glimmer of sun right at the plate. It's a bizarre scene.
In this situation, Joey Hamilton has to keep the ball down, hopeful of getting a ball on the ground right to one of his infielders. Royce Clayton, on the other hand, wants the ball up out of the plate, something he can drive to right center, at least to plate the base runner on a sac fly. Another good sinker ties up Clayton.
So Hamilton ahead 1-2. Clayton just trying to get a fly ball. The scorer, Alicea, who can move. Willie McGee is on deck. Oh, good pitch by Hamilton.
Boy, there's that great sinker ball. Down and in, tie it up Clayton, and he swung right over the top of it. There are a few times in a ball game when you really need a strikeout. Third base, less than 2 outs. That's what the script says. You need a strikeout, and Hamilton comes up with a big pitch to retire Clayton.
His 5th strikeout of the afternoon. And that'll bring up Willie McGee. Grounded to short and then grounded to Joyner, who made a beautiful backhand play to rob him of a base hit in the hole.
The Padres have to be alive on the right side for that drag bunt. Something Willie McGee can take with him.
Well, in case this becomes a monster of a problem here for the Padres, Willie Blair is up in the bullpen. A little flare that's grabbed by Gomez. So defense got him in a pickle, but eventually it got him out of a pickle. We remain 3-0 Cardinals. 6th inning now here in St. Louis. Cardinals still living on that 3-run home run by Gary Gaetti in the bottom of the 1st inning. Padres have amassed just 1 hit thus far of Todd Stottlemyre. Now they have the top of the order. We got to get something going here, Buck. Maybe all that adrenaline has run out a little bit here. They flew in, they're fired up, and they got a double from Gwynn in the 1st inning, didn't capitalize, and maybe they're only human a little bit. Of course, give Stottlemyre a lot of credit.
Well, Todd has made some pretty good pitches in the first part of this ball game. Stottlemyre knows what kind of igniter Henderson is. You can see 5 innings, just 1 hit, and retired 14 in the last 15 he's faced. Ricky Henderson has popped up twice, but the last time in the 3rd inning, he just missed crushing a ball. Had a big swing at a high fastball and got underneath it and popped it high to the shortstop.
Now 3-1 to Henderson. Ricky walked 125 times this year. Just if you're wondering how many times Ricky's walked, I mean, usually the sluggers are the ones that walk. Let's see here. I wrote that down on my flight about 3 o'clock in the morning. And Ricky has just sent it. Gone.
That's the same pitch that he popped up last time and just missed it. And with each at bat, you can see what it's done to the Padres dugout. It's loosened them up a bit. But Ricky Henderson has been here before, and he knows what it takes to get a team going. Put Ricky up on center stage, and he'll do something to get your attention. And Tony La Russa knows that better than anybody. Take a look at this swing. He had this pitch last time up and popped it up. This time he doesn't miss it. Think he knows it's gone? He's done that before.
The igniter, Ricky Henderson. Of course, he was the MVP of the '89 ALCS with the A's against the Blue Jays. It's a long time ago, but Henderson, Caminiti said something at the bat rack. So we were talking before the game. He said, boy, Ricky's Mr. Postseason, isn't he? Think we can jump on his back? He said, well, they've jumped on your back all year. He said, yeah, but how about somebody else along the line? And he says, Ricky's our candidate.
Stottlemyre knows exactly what Henderson means to a ball club. He faced him, and he also played with him in postseason games when Henderson was in Toronto.
So Henderson's hit the first one since Tony Gwynn's double in the first inning.
Look at that. That's Greg Vaughn and Ricky Henderson. Now, these are the two left fielders that had to split time up. They've got a pretty good relationship, and that has really added to the chemistry of this ball club. Sometimes that's all it takes, just something to wake up the team.
Well, here's Tony Gwynn with his second base hit. Past a diving Alicea. So a home run and a single to start the sixth for the never say die San Diego Padres.
Let's take a look at the swing by Ricky Henderson on that home run off Todd Stottlemyre. He made contact, looks away, does his little dance, and prepares for the trip around the bases. This is the reaction in the dugout, and you can see all of a sudden everything is okay. Ricky's got us going again.
Ricky has lost that number. That's home run number 5 for him in the postseason. And now a little word from Dave Duncan to Todd Stottlemyre. By the way, the number of walks, just so I complete the sentence, 1,675, but in that case, a walk was not as good as a hit.
Well, Stottlemyre got a little visit from his pitching coach, Dave Duncan. Just a little reminder, hey, continue to make your pitches. You still got a 2-run cushion. Finley struck out last time up on a bad pitch. Stottlemyre struggled, fell behind, and on a 3-2 pitch out of the strike zone, Finley took a check swing and struck out.
Breaking ball inside.
They're starting to get real good looks at Stottlemyre. They're taking those borderline pitches now. Third time through the lineup. Jitters are calmed down a bit. Duncan very concerned about Stottlemyre at this point, keeping a close eye on him.
That's in there for strikes, says Jim Quick. Gaetti in right along the grass in case Finn's decides to drop one down. Again, it's odd when you're talking about a guy that's hit 30 home runs. Finley until this year, his best was 11 home runs. There's a good pitch by Stottlemyre to even the count of 2-2. And Caminiti on deck.
Look at the concentration, trying to get a feel for Stottlemyre for his next at bat.
As if Caminiti's already in the batter's box, Buck. Here goes Gwynn. Finley skies it. Willie McGee coming on. A long run for Willie. Makes the play. Gwynn back to first. There's one out.
Well, Finley got underneath that ball, and Willie McGee was deep in center field and had a long run, but he's got the good speeds that allowed him to close the ground. Well, these are the confrontations that stories are built upon. Home run slugger in a situation to tie the game up against a tough pitcher.
Well, Stottlemyre got Caminiti with 2 aboard and 1 out in the first. Got him on a strikeout, then walked him in the fourth. So advantage thus far to Stottlemyre. 1 run home on Henderson's home run. Can the Padres scratch closer? Scratching back, that's been their motto. Lost game 1 of that 4-game series against LA, came back in game 2. Lost game 3, came back in game 4. And of course won all 3 over the weekend. You see he's 0 for 8 lifetime against Stottlemyre is Caminetti. What a perfect time to break that schneid.
Bruce Bochy just going through the signs over there. Believe me, the only sign in this at bat is let Cammy swing.
You know what's amazing about that? We'll get into it after this pitch. You can tell the manager for a West Coast team, there's one spot of sun in the dugout. Bochy's in it. There's nowhere else is there sun, but hey, you got to keep up with the Rays. Boy, I was in St. Louis for 3 days. I got to keep up with the Rays. But there it is. I mean, that's why he's the manager. I look for these things, Buck. Outside to Caminetti.
See how Stottlemyre tried to go and catch the outside corner with that sinking fastball. Pagnozzi, the catcher, really accentuating the signal to the outside. Watch how he slides to the outside corner, just trying to catch down and away.
Chopped it off his foot.
They're doing a good job of working Caminetti in and out. Stottlemyre using both sides of the plate. That time throw a slider down and in, and Caminetti hit it off his foot. This ball is inside. He tries to fight it off and hits it off that right foot. I asked the Cardinals about how they have been so successful against Caminetti, and they said they never throw 2 pitches in the same spot, establish a pattern that he can pick up on. Tremendous respect for Ken Caminetti, even though Stottlemyre has had his number. Away again.
Fouls it back. It's a big time at bat both ways.
See, now here they've gone in, out, in, out. Right now he can back up and go out again and maybe get a ground ball off the bat of Caminetti. In the previous sequence of sinker away, slider in, they came back inside with a slider. Caminetti's got to be thinking, where's he going now? Is he coming back in with a slider? If he goes back down and away, he might get a ground ball on that sinker ball.
Gets him on a buster inside. 2 out here in the 6th.
Another good sinking fastball away. Looked like he may have taken something off of that. Watch the movement on this pitch. Down and away. Caminetti's out on that front foot. He took something off. May have been a straight changeup, but he got good movement down and away and a big strikeout. Caminetti now 0 for 9 against Stottlemyre. Good job of going back and forth on speed and location.
Wally Joyner up now with 2 outs and Gwynn at first. Those last 4 pitches to Caminetti, Buck, 90, 80, 90, and 81.
Now that's the whole key to pitching. Change location and change the hitter's bat speed.
So 2 of the 6 strikeouts that Stottlemyre has have been against Caminetti. Joyner is 0 for 2, a grounder to second and a fly ball to center. Tony Gwynn would like to be moving from first. Fouled off by Joyner. Hey, we go from baseball here in St. Louis to hockey. Opening night of the NHL is the Stanley Cup champion Colorado Avalanche. Patrick Roy and company in the Kiel Center here in St. Louis, just down the street. Red Hull and the St. Louis Blues. That's 8 o'clock Friday night, the NHL season opener. And then just about there's the Kiel Center. Then about everybody else plays in the NHL on Saturday, including our Hartford Whalers. At home against the Phoenix Coyotes. You throw it all out the window when the Whale and the Coyotes get together. Joyner in the hole. And then Royce Clayton almost overruns the ball. It goes into left field. And Gwynn to second base. We'll call that a hit. Royce got there too quickly, Buck.
He got to it, and Joyner just pokes the ball through the left side of the infield. This ball gets to Royce Clayton. Watch. See, Joyner no stride at all, just puts the ball in play, shooting for that hole. Clayton gets there, but didn't get the glove down. He's quick, and his first step enables him to get over there, but you can see he got to it, actually had the glove in front of it, but just didn't get it down to make a play on that. He would have had an easy force at second base on Gwynn.
So the Padres with the tying runs now aboard, and Chris Gomez, the shortstop, 0 for 2, steps to the plate. A little bit low for ball 1. Gomez, since coming over from Detroit, hit .262. Only 3 home runs as a Padre. Just a little flair will get it done. Gomez has some sort of advantage, having seen Stottlemyre in the American League, although he didn't use that to his advantage. 3 for 12. And 3 for 14 when you factor today's game. Gwynn at second. Joyner at first.
Well, there's another one of those hanging sliders that Stottlemyre got away with. You think slider count, you're thinking low and away. And then he gets underneath it, and it spins kind of up and in, and it really ties you up. You can't pull the trigger. It's a hanger, but you're thinking down and away, and it jams you. Can't even get into a situation where you can swing it.
There goes Gwynn to third base, and he'll get that one uncontested. Wait, Tony Gwynn running like the '84 Tony Gwynn.
Well, that caught everybody flat-footed. Stottlemyre never stopped Gwynn at second base. Look at the break. Stottlemyre not even thinking about Gwynn. Tony got 2 full strides before Stott unloads the pitch. In fact, now they didn't have a chance to make a play.
Now even an infield single will play to run. That's the difference there with 2 outs. As Joyner is at first base, so runners at the corners for Gomez. Count is 2-2 with 2 down here in the 6th. Just misses outside. The count is full, so now Joyner will be on his horse when the pitch comes to the plate. Big moment in this ball game right here. 1 run in on Henderson's home run. 3-1 St. Louis. Gets him down and away. Gomez goes fishing, and the runners are stranded. The Padres draw some blood, but not enough. 3-1 St. Louis.
There's nothing like.
Gary Miller with you in the studio. This is game 1 of the American League Divisional Playoff. Paul Shuey on relief with the bases loaded, and Bobby Bonilla unloads in a 3-2 pitch. 6 runs, 7th for the Orioles, who hit 4 home runs and take a 1-0 lead in a 10-4 victory.
All right, Gary, thank you. So Bonilla with the hitting shoeys on today, and the Orioles make the Indians already start to shudder in this best-of-5 series. Bottom of the 6th, there was long ball for the Cards. Gary Gaetti's 3-run home run in the first, and that's been the difference. As Joey Hamilton bounces the first pitch here in the bottom of the 6th inning to Ron Gant. The wind is blowing directly from right to left, and that's exactly the stream that Ricky Henderson's home run ball caught. But with a right-handed power hitter Gant up, oh, Caminetti guns to Joyner, 1 out. But for right-handed hitters, keep that in mind that the wind is definitely to their aid. Padres have played. There's the flags, Buck, and that's like a picture.
Yeah, anytime anything gets up in the air toward left, it'll go here in this ballpark. And there was no question about Ricky Henderson. He didn't need any wind, didn't need any help at all. He crushed that ball off Stottlemyre.
They in their trailing of 3-1. The Padres have really shown some leather. Except for the one miscue by Caminetti there on the rundown with Alicea. Caminetti's made a good play. Jody Reed has been sharp. Finley made the catch in center. Joyner a play at first base. Gomez made a good play. But you got to get a couple of runs along with it. Brian Jordan now ahead 2-0 against Joey Hamilton. Jordan was the one robbed by Finley in the 3rd inning.
Well, we've been talking about Stottlemyre all game long. Let's don't forget what Joey Hamilton has done after that first inning. He gave up the 3-run home run to Gary Gaetti. What looked to be a changeup out over the plate.
This one is hit pretty well to center field. Back goes Finley. He's got room, though. At the edge of the track, there are 2 outs.
Since that first inning, the Cardinals really haven't been able to muster much at all against Joey Hamilton. Just 2 hits now as we're working here in the 6th.
Another hand for Gary Gaetti. Remember those young Minnesota Twins that then erupted on the scene in '87 that won the series against the Cards? What a fun team that was. Ooh, watch out. Kirby Puckett, who was great to see him on our air today in Baltimore, and Kent Herbeck. I mean, the name, the Greg Gagne, and that was just a fun ball club.
Well, they had some guys on that team that just played in the shadows of the stars, but they all played together as a team.
Little chopper, foul ball. Caminiti made a good play, but it's foul ball, signaled by Frank Pulley. You know they had on that team, though, to help them enjoy themselves? And Gaetti was talking about it today. Bert Blyler. He helped them keep it, keep it sane or insane.
Insane most of the time. He never let anybody take themselves too seriously, that's for sure.
Viola, I mean, there are a lot of guys. They're a good club.
What was that rotation? Viola, Blylev, and Les Straker.
Les Moonstraker pitched games 3 and 6.
Juan Berenguer.
Not a lot. They won it, though. Yeah, and part of the reason was the Gaetti got him there in the ALCS in 1987. It was the Twins over the Tigers. Right? That was the year the Tigers came from behind at the end to catch the Blue Jays. Yeah, Joey Hamilton makes Gaetti stand there and look that time. So we played 6. Here in St. Louis, still 3-1 Cards. 7th inning in St. Louis, a 3-1 Cardinal lead over the Padres. A good crisp ball game. Buck, the difference: 2 on in the first for the Padres. They retire the big hitters. 2 on in the first for the Cardinals. 3-run homer by Gaetti.
Well, the Padres were concerned about the first inning, whether or not Joey Hamilton could really settle in there. And Gary Gaetti got a changeup up and away. It was a 6th home run Gaetti has hit against the Padres this year. Hamilton since then has really settled in, and now it's up to the hitters to get the Padres back into this ball game. Todd Stottlemyre, just 4 hits through the first 6 innings, and this is exactly what he had on his mind. He said he was really pleased to be able to go out and start game 1 of this championship series.
Willie McGee is there in center field, and Brian Johnson is retired, and there's 1 out here in the Padres 7th. Baseball tomorrow. You know that the 3rd game coming up, and Rangers Yankees on Fox tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. So triple header today, triple header tomorrow, with ESPN doing the games at 1 and at 4 o'clock Eastern time. Then just 2 games on Thursday, 2 games on Friday. Jody Reed, base hit to the right side. So a 1-out single by Jody Reed. The Padres' 5th hit of the afternoon, and that will mean that Joey Hamilton now, with a runner on and 1 out, will sit. Willie Blair is working in the bullpen, and Hamilton will be pinch hit for by Scott Livingstone, I presume.
A good outing for Joey Hamilton. Saved 1 pitch to Gary Gaetti way back in the 1st inning. But he kept his ball club in position to make a comeback here in the 7th inning. Let me tell you something. He can really think about that pitch all night long, but he settled in after that 1st inning and really threw a good ball game here. Now it's up to Scott Livingston to keep this thing going here in the 7th.
Livingston 19 for 61 as a pinch hitter this year. That's a superior number. 331. Not a lot of power, but you hit 331 coming off that bench, and that's an item that not every ball club has. Time is called.
One thing that's imperative for Livingstone here in this at bat is to try to keep the inning alive and bring the top of the lineup up with some runners on. Henderson went deep his last time up against Stottlemyre. It's amazing how he can turn it on in these situations.
Livingstone looks at one outside, and it's 1-1. Rick Honeycutt, the left-hander, throwing now in the Cardinals bullpen. And I think Tony La Russa has made that call once or twice through the years. Get Honeycutt up in the bullpen.
Now he's one of 12 Cardinals that have experienced postseason prior to this year, and La Russa knows how important that experience has been for this club. Well, there's a good breaking ball down and in, and a weak hack by Livingstone. Here's where he really has to dig in and try to battle Stottlemyre in this at bat.
Stottlemyre takes a look at Jody Reed, who can move. Steps off the rubber.
Look at Ron Gann in left field now, looking right into that sun. That could come into play with a slicing line drive off the bat of the left-handed hitter Livingstone.
Here's a slicer that McGee is there for in left center field. Livingstone gave it a ride, but it hung up there too long, and maybe there the wind didn't do the Padres any favor, even though he hit it into the jet stream a little bit.
Now he made a bid for extra bases, but McGee, with those good legs, got over and cut off the gap.
Well, McGee's been very busy. 5-6 putouts in center field.
Look at the pitch that Livingstone hit out of the plate, down and away with 2 strikes. He knows it's got a chance, but Willie McGee made a good running catch on the ball.
Now here's Ricky, homer to left, his last time up, 1 for 3 in the afternoon. Each team with 5 hits. The Cards with the 3 runs. 3-1 St. Louis. Reed at first.
Henderson talked to me yesterday about his poor season. When you look at his average coming into this game after a .241 season, he said, I think I gave the league too much credit. I tried to adjust to the National League instead of being my aggressive self. He said, next year I'll be a different player. He said, I've learned over here in the National League that pitchers work the outside corner a lot. And because of that, the umpires give them that pitch that's on the corner. He said, I was too conservative all year long, and I never could really get back my aggressiveness.
Outside corner as you described, Buck.
You can see that Henderson is starting to really get into this ball game now. He pounded to play with his bat after that pitch outside. How many times over the years have we seen Henderson in the postseason come up with big at-bats?
Now even the shade has left Bruce Bochy at this point. Breaking ball drops in there for a strike, 2-1.
Five home runs in his 42 postseason games and 25 stolen bases.
Almost. Ooh, he held off the pitch on the outside corner. Ball 3, 3-1 with Gwynn on deck.
This pitch has been there all day long for Stottlemyre. Breaking ball on the outside. This time he didn't get the call, and it's a 3-1 count. He has been so good with his breaking ball, he can throw it 3-1 here. He did, but missed.
Well, again, the tying runs are aboard, and the dangerous Tony Gwynn coming to the plate, who's 2 for 3.
Now here's the meeting in the dugout. LaRussa and Duncan say, what do we do? We got Honeycutt ready. One more call to the bullpen.
That's what this is. Is he ready?
You sure he's ready? Yep.
You sure? Now, come on now. Give me an honest answer. Is he ready? Well, let me walk out there and make sure that he's ready. The Dunk makes the call, and Todd Stottlemyre will leave with a round of well-deserved applause. Rick Honeycutt coming in to face Tony Gwynn. Top of the 7th, the knuckle grinding time here in St. Louis. Todd Stottlemyre left to a great round of applause by the Cardinal faithful. And a nice gesture here by Todd.
Well, he acknowledges the applause from the crowd by waving his glove. A job well done for Todd Stottlemyre. He pitched his club into the 7th inning. Now he's on the bench watching as Rick Honeycutt works. 6 2/3, 5 hits. The single run coming on Ricky Henderson's home run. 2 walks and 7 strikeouts. His runners are at first and second. And he's looking for Honeycutt to bail him out. Gary Gaetti with a 3-run home run. Ricky Henderson with a solo shot. That's been all the scoring here.
Well, this is the veteran Rick Honeycutt, and I don't want to say that he's been in the majors a long time, Buck. I mean, he's 42 years of age, but he was involved in a trade with Willie Horton and Mario Mendoza. All right, so now you know that Honey has been around a long time and with great success, with a great setup man through the years in Oakland for Dennis Eckersley.
Well, one thing Honeycutt does is he improvises with Reed at second base and Henderson at first base. They represent the tying runs.
And Tony Gwynn, the National League batting champion, up with a chance to get his Padres back in the game. Gwynn has doubled and singled and also stolen a base in 3 at-bats. Get handed this note that he's 0 for his last 6 against Honeycutt, 3 this year and 3 in like 1987 when Honeycutt was last in the National League. So I'm not sure what that means. It means that Honeycutt was traded for Willie Horton. That's what it means.
One thing about Honeycutt is he gives you so many different wrinkles, and he has the ability to improvise. 22 games in the postseason, 2-0 with a 7 ERA. He's picked up a save. He's the kind of guy that'll stand out there on that rubber and say, okay, what do I need now? Maybe a little sinking fastball, turn me over, and make up a pitch.
Oh, he skies Tony Gwynn. Out is Clayton. In is Gant. Ooh, Clayton battled the sun and made the catch. So Tony Gwynn strands a pair. Honeycutt does the job. Standing ovation at 7th inning stretch time at St.
Pure performance. Sostrake Sports.
Very good. They got a lot of good arms in that bullpen, and Willie Blair trying to hold the Cardinals right here. Keep the Padres deficit at 2.
Ground ball wide of first base coach Dave McKay, and you just look around. I mean, this is like Oakland revisited. If you haven't watched the Cards this year, you get La Russa, Duncan, and Dave McKay, and Tommy Reynolds, the third base coach. Not to mention Honeycutt and Eckersley, who just ran out to the bullpen. Oakland reunion. Jody Reed over to Joyner, 1 out in the Cardinals' 7th inning. Now the Padres missed a golden opportunity, and really with the way their lineup is, Buck, with the light hitting at the bottom of it, if they don't get something going next inning, they're really in the hole in the 9th.
Well, Tony Gwynn popped up against Rick Honeycutt in a situation with 2 outs that could have kept the inning alive and turned it over to Finley, Caminetti, and Joyner. So right now they're looking ahead to the 8th, to the heart of their order, trying to get back in the game. Good news for Finley, Caminetti, and Joyner is that Stottlemyre's gone.
Blair with a ball to Tom Pagnozzi, who struck out a pair of times. Big season, though, for Tom. Reaches out, a little chopper to Gomez. 2 outs here in the Cardinal 7th inning. Don't forget SportsCenter coming up after the game. We'll have some interviews here. And a reaction from Baltimore on a busy day, both involving the umps. Would they take it and then take the field? And then the Orioles, boy, did they take the field. Brady jumped that whole game out in the first inning. I mean, what, he had 12 during the regular season, so 13 leadoff home runs this year.
What happened to the scouting report? They threw him a first pitch fastball and he went deep.
We knew that. If we know that.
Boy, what a season he has had. I don't want to take anything away from Brady Anderson at all. He's hit him. He's gotten his pitches, and he hasn't missed many.
50 home runs. Wow. I mean, he's one of 14 that has ever hit 50 home runs in a season.
He broke Frank Robinson's team record of 49. That's great company.
Wow. Alicea looks at the ball, 1-1. Yeah, the playoffs off to a big start. A lot of slugging. This is really a pitcher's duel that's been all the runs scored by home runs. Slugging in Baltimore, a couple of home runs and some sharp pitching here in St. Louis. Texas at New York tonight. Then the 4th series begins tomorrow afternoon, and Buck and I will be on hand for game 1 of that one. Continuing our magical mystery tour for the Braves and the Dodgers. Ramon against Smoltz. No pitching in that one.
Tony La Russa played in a 5-game series back in '83. Chicago White Sox against the Orioles. before that championship series went to a 7-game series. He said, you know what, man, those 5 games fly by. So he knows the importance of game 1.
Rip past the diving Joyner down the line, and it hits the part of the stands that juts out. So Gwynn will have to scamper to get it, and Luis Alicea has doubled to left center and is now doubled down the right field line.
He is now 8 for 11 in the past 2 years in the postseason. 6 for 10 last year. And here he gets a couple of hits. His second double in 3 trips. This ball out of the grasp of Wally Joyner goes down the right field line and then hits that fence that juts out and dies. Tony Gwynn has to come over and play it near the foul line. And Alicea has his second consecutive double.
Pitching coach Dan Worthen is now on the mound to talk with Blair. And believe it or not, Rick Honeycutt is going to step to the plate. Now, I mean, the guy is what do we say, 42? He is 0 for 1 lifetime. Is this true? This year. I was going to say lifetime. Can we dig deep into the hitting stats of Honeycutt to find? He's 0 for 1. He does have an RBI this year. But I mean, I can't imagine he's handled the bat a lot. Let's see here. He is, well, early on, remember, he did do some starting. 24 of 182. So I stand corrected. Just that only one of those 182 at-bats has come in the last 10 years.
And he's swinging. He is in here because the first batter of next inning is Steve Finley, and Finley is 0 for 6 against Honeycutt. So Finley is going to start the 8th inning off for the Padres, and that's why Honeycutt is still in this ball game.
Now Honey took a cut at it. It's 0-2.
Rick Honeycutt, they're throwing him breaking balls. You see how he gets out on that front foot.
That looks like me with an L wedge. Except I usually scull it. Low and away. 1-2.
This is interesting because Bruce Bochy in that last homestand against the Dodgers had a situation where he allowed Trevor Hoffman to bat in the 10th inning with the game on the line and runners at first and second. Hoffman struck out and then gave up a home run to Dante Bichette in the 11th. It proved to be the winning run.
Inside now, and the last thing Blair wants to do is monkey around with this at bat. It's 2-2.
Bochy got more heat in that same ball game when he sent up Chris Gwynn to pinch hit for Arce and Flacco, and Gwynn hit into a game-ending double play. Bruce then said, you know what, Chris bailed me out when he got that big hit on Sunday. Took some heat off of me.
Royce Clayton hoping he has a chance to bat. There it is. Strike 3. At least Honeycutt got up there and took his rips, but he's more important to work to Finley. We've played 7. 3-1 Redbirds. Top of the 8th inning at late afternoon sunlight here at Busch Stadium in St. Louis. Sellout crowd enjoying the Cardinals 3 on ESPN at 7:30 Thursday night. But baseball is the issue here. Again, a pair of games on ESPN tomorrow. Baltimore-Cleveland game 2 at 1. Los Angeles game 1 at 4. Well, here it is. Here's the heart of the order, and this is why Rick Honeycutt batted to face Steve Finley. Finley hit by pitch, struck out, and flew to center field. 0 for 2.
He's 0 for 6 in his career against Rick Honeycutt.
There's that roundhouse pitch by Honeycutt in there for a strike.
Honeycutt will throw a combination of different pitches at you. He'll throw a big sweeping breaking ball. He can throw a short breaking ball when he needs a strike. Throw some sinking fastballs in the dirt trying to get you to chase that pitch.
And the same pitch, and Finley waved at it. Honeycutt ahead 1-2.
When you have an 0 for 6 against a particular pitcher, you know in your mind you're having a tough time picking up the ball out of his hand. And you can see that Finley waves at that ball outside. Never really saw it.
A weak chopper that's foul.
Tony La Russa doesn't miss too many of these matchups that favor his pitcher. He had a chance to keep Honeycutt in the game. He got Tony Gwynn, and now he's got the closer, Dennis Eckersley, standing ready down in the bullpen.
Finley rips this one up the middle for a base hit. So the Padres trying to get back in this, lead off the 8th with a sharp single by Finley. And that'll bring up the MVP candidate Ken Caminiti, who certainly, Buck, struggled against Todd Stottlemyre, but now it's Honeycutt or someone else.
Well, against Todd Stottlemyre in the first inning, he got a high slider, but swung right through it. It may have been up out of the strike zone. And then in the 6th inning, he chases a sinking fastball down and away. He is 0 for 9 on his career against Stottlemyre, and he, for one, is thrilled that he's facing Honeycutt instead of Stottlemyre.
2 strikeouts and a walk, batting lefty for Caminiti. Now, remember, there's a good pitch for a strike. Remember, the wind is going right to left. And Caminiti batting from the right-hand side of the plate, so maybe a better chance into the jet stream. Keep that in mind. Gaetti guarding the line at third. Oh, Honeycutt working him in, out.
Now, he has painted the outside corner a couple of times with that sinking fastball. Caminiti hoping to get something on the inner half, and watch how this pitch finds the outside corner. Boy, he's got great command.
Probably pitched till he's 50.
Honeycutt now doesn't have to throw a strike. He's got Caminiti in a hole.
Oh, Caminiti is struck out for the 3rd time this afternoon. What a good job by Rick Honeycutt against the guy who hit 40 home runs this season.
Honeycutt working in his 16th division championship. No concern whatsoever. He got ahead with 2 great sinking fastballs and then throws a slider down and in and gets the strikeout. A 3-pitch strikeout of Ken Caminiti.
Now here's an interesting move. Not that this move is unusual by Bruce Bochy. He's going to hit Greg Vaughn instead of the lefty Wally Joyner against Rick Honeycutt. Duncan will go to the mound maybe to make a switch. But Vaughn is the guy with power in the 9th inning that you almost want to keep in your pocket with the bottom of the order, Buck, and now he will not be available.
Well, Bochy gets a chance right here. He figures you got one shot at getting back in the game, and he's going to make the Cardinals force their hand here.
Well, a scene common for Tony La Russa clubs. Honeycutt walking off, Dennis Eckersley trotting in. 3-1, but the Padres with Steve Finley at first. 1 out, and Dennis Eckersley on to face the pinch hitter Greg Vaughn. They substitute one 40-year-old pitcher for another. Eckersley will be 42 on Thursday. In the postseason, Buck, 11 saves.
Now, it's a situation where Eckersley is asked to go an inning and 2/3, something that he hasn't done very often this year.
That familiar kick and pitch, but unlike the Eckersley that almost automatically threw strikes, heaven forbid he threw a ball. Greg Vaughn knows he's not going to get that much of a shot here in this postseason, but he knows with one swing of his bat he can make the difference. There goes Finley, but Vaughn fouls it off.
Finley got a great jump at first base. He had a good jump. Boy, Bruce Bochy knows that Greg Vaughn just missed that pitch. Look at a jump at first base, trying to take advantage of that big exaggerated leg kick. He got a great jump, but then it's fouled out of play. Greg Vaughn, when he first came over here to San Diego, was 0 for 12. His first hit was a 2-run home run in this ballpark against Andy Benes.
Eck will look Finley back to first base. Eckersley third on the all-time save list with 353. This is a guy that for the first 10 years of his career was a starter. There goes Finley again. Vaughn skies this one in the infield, so Finley will have to hustle back. Clayton calls off Gaetti, makes the catch, 2 down.
Well, Greg Vaughn got another good pitch to hit from Dennis Eckersley. Watch this pitch, inner part of the plate, and he popped it up. Boy, he had a good pitch to hit. Look at his frustration. That's a pitch that he can drive out of the ballpark. That's the tough part of pinch hitting. You get one good pitch and one good chance, and if you miss it, you're done.
Shortstop Chris Gomez, 0 for 3. Now with 2 out in the 8th. Each team with 6 hits. But the 3-run homer from Gary Gaetti in inning 1 is still standing awfully large. There goes Finley again. Pagnazzi's throw, not in time.
Well, Finley is so confident that he could get a good jump against Eckersley in that high leg kick that he steals with 2 outs, even though the club trails by 2. Watch the jump he gets. Eckersley, big exaggerated leg kick. Finley takes a quick look, and the throw is not in time.
Padres have not had that many opportunities with runners in scoring position this afternoon. Only 4 of them, but they're 0 for 4. Inside, Gomez swung at it, fouled it back. One pitch to Gomez. There's the roundhouser in there for strike 2.
Now, one thing Eckersley has done throughout his career is have good command of his breaking ball, and it might not be that biting slider that he once had, but he still has good command and finds the outside corner. Good hack at a fastball.
Yeah.
Eckersley has always had a lot of emotion in working for Tony La Russa in these tough ball games. And he'll get under your skin if you're playing against him.
Outside, Gomez lays off, 2-2.
But I've talked to Eckersley about why he's so emotional. He said, you know what? He said, I'm scared out there. I don't want to fail. My team needs me. And that's when I get that last out of the game, I'm pumped. Because I know that that other team is trying to beat me and beat me big time.
Gomez just stays alive. You know what's amazing about Eck? You look at him facially. I mean, he looks the same as when he came into the league with the Indians.
Yeah, he works hard. He runs a lot, keeps himself in great shape, and that's why he's been able to pitch so effectively for so long.
I remember I did an interview one time at the All-Star game a few years back, and I said, you know, you're my idol. You're not supposed to say that on TV. I said, he said, why? He said, when we first bet, we both look like you. You're the only one that still does.
Strike 3. Gomez is gone. Padres are gone in the 8th. Everybody on their feet here in St. Louis. 3 outs away from drawing first blood in this series. The Eck has delivered so far. Heading to the bottom of the 8th at Busch Stadium. 3-1 Cardinals.
Today at Camden Yards. We're at the bottom of the 8th here in the top of the order for the Cardinals. Clayton, McGee, and Gant facing Willie Blair. But more importantly, if you're looking ahead to the Padre ninth, 7, 8, 9. Johnson, the catcher, Reed, the second baseman, and the pitcher spot. And if Eckersley stays in, the only left-handed bat on the bench, Chris Gwynn. New first baseman, by the way, is he did not go around at Clayton because Joyner was pinch hit for. That's Golden Archie Cianfrocco. Fittingly playing just a few hundred feet away from the gateway to the west. Pretty big arc itself. Don't forget SportsCenter following us. The baseball tonight. Baseball today, baseball tonight. Gary and Carl Ravitch and Peter Gammons and our crews at all the games. That's the place to go for the baseball this week, right through the World Series. I know firsthand how hard everybody on that crew works, and it's a labor of love. This is the month that you want to make sure you catch as many baseball tonights as possible. 3-1 count to Clayton. Royce has singled, was robbed by a leaping Jody Reed at second and struck out. Blowing away, and the leadoff man is on, Royce Clayton. This copyrighted telecast is presented by the authority of the Office of the Commissioner of Baseball. I'm not really sure who that is, and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form without express written consent. Yeah, we're happy that baseball and ESPN got together to bring the majority of the opening round divisional playoffs. Longtime Cardinal favorite Willie McGee. Willie 0 for 3. And robbed twice. Joyner made a good play on a ground ball, and Gomez made a leaping grab of a line drive.
La Russa has a lot of options here against Willie Blair with good speed at first base, good contact hitter to Clayton. Willie McGee trying to set the table for Brian Jordan.
The Padres really got to keep this to a 2-run game. And we don't have the bats to bring them back by power at the bottom of the lineup. McGee shows bunt, pulls it back, but it's in there for a strike.
Now here's where they could switch it off and play hit and run. You've got Blair thinking it's going to be a bunt situation. He might coax Willie Blair into a fastball here. Start the runner at first, open up a hole on the infield, maybe play first and third.
Popped. Tamanini won't be able to get to it. But this time Blair is ahead of the batter, 0-2. Yankees Texas tonight on NBC. What do you like in that series? Texas gave the Yankees trouble, Buck.
They sure did, especially once they get him down into Arlington. But David Cohn and Andy Pettitte go for the Yankees in the first 2 games, and they really need to win both of those games. You don't want to get the Texas Rangers comfortable in the ballpark at Arlington for those 3 games. And the Rangers really pound on left-handers. Pettitte and Key go 2 and 3 in that game. Juan Gonzalez hit .541 against the Yankees this year.
Yowzer. He truly was going Gonzalez for the year he had.
Clayton wants to do some groundskeeping here. He created a divot out there, and he's a golfer, so he can replace your divots.
Yeah. I don't know if he carries around the green repair kit in his pocket. Royce can move, as you can see, 33 steals. Came over in the offseason. Alan Watson trade from San Francisco. McGee shows bunt again with the 2 strikes, but pulls it back for a ball.
Well, that's showing a lot of confidence in your hitter.
A little discussion now with Tommy Reynolds at third. I may have showed confidence, but I'm not sure that was the call.
I think Willie McGee got a little crossed up there.
Whoops.
I thought maybe La Russa was thinking, okay, Willie knows to take a strike, take a pitch if it's outside. Tommy Reynolds saw, wait a minute, Willie. We got our signals crossed.
Yeah, Tommy with the poker face. You think he might be laughing going back there? I don't think so. And it's 1-2, 3-1. Cards lead it. Bottom of the 8th. Clayton back.
No signs to the catcher for the throw over, pitch out. More related to the base runner than they are to pitch selection.
There goes Clayton, swung on and missed, strike 3, but Clayton, he's out at second base. Looks like he went past the bag. He had it stolen first, but an alert play down there by the Pods.
Now Tony La Russa disappointed in that situation. Brian Johnson's throw was high at second base. Clayton initially was safe, but his momentum takes him off the bag. It's a strikeout at the plate. The throw is high, but watch how he comes off the bag, and Gomez stays with the play. You can see he lost contact at second. This will give you a good shot of it. Gomez tags, sees the hand come off, and quickly swipes at Clayton for the putout. He stole it initially, but then an alert play by the shortstop Chris Gomez turns it into a strike him out, throw him out at second.
That certainly changes the landscape with the bases clear for Ron Gant rather than a runner at second, with the Cardinals leading by 2 runs. Again, it's 7-8-9 for the Padres. In the 9th inning, Johnson, Reed, and a pinch hitter in the pitcher spot. Now, 2-1. Brian Jordan on deck. Gant trying to solve Willie Blair. Again, Sports Center. Bob Lee and Charlie Steiner sure enjoying the baseball like all you are at home. Well, you hear that?
Ricky Henderson again is drawing the attention of the fans here in St. Louis.
Here's the Ricky.
And he's playing him, isn't he?
Well, I think this is pretty mild here in the Midwest compared to what he's heard through the years. Meanwhile, Blair issues a base on ball to Ron Gant. And that'll bring up the dangerous Brian Jordan. Dario Veras is up for Bruce Bochy in the bullpen. He's righty as well. Bochy really almost an entire right-handed staff. There's Veras now. So Gant aboard at first. Been aboard 3 of 4 times. Hit by pitches, single and a walk. Gant stole a base back in the 3rd inning. And up 3-1, even though Jordan is a big RBI man, we might see some hit and run right here, which Blair was thinking at the same time.
I'm not going to make Ron again stop in this situation. Tony La Russa doesn't rest until you're inside in that locker room diving into the spread.
Pitch out. It wandered off first base, but scampered back.
Now Bruce Bochy, a former catcher, trying to get into La Russa's head. When you going to send him, Tony? Brian Jordan's got the throw over sign.
This is the part of the game when you think of the 5-man electrical band, because there's signs everywhere, signs. Blocking out the scenery, breaking my mind. Oh, we could recite the rest of the song, but I won't do it. Oh, he pulled the string on that one, and Jordan was way ahead of him.
One thing that this entire bullpen packs with it when they go to the mound are very good changeups. Watch Jordan get out on that front foot and waves at that changeup. That ball's not even there, and he swings at it. Very effective pitch for Willie Blair, particularly against a very aggressive Brian Jordan.
Again, an eye on Gant. One and one is the count to Brian Jordan here in the bottom of the 8th inning. I think Gant's jersey will get the double dose of Tide in the laundry room after the game.
Well, it looks like you played, though. You know, you go out there and you got to participate a bit. Don't want to come home clean, do you?
No. Well, it's a good thing they have the off day tomorrow. They can get all the dirt out of that jersey.
Players used to walk into the locker room and holler around everybody who made the wet bag good going. Those of you with the clean uniforms, get them tomorrow.
Had him to wave at that one outside as well. The count is 1-2. Remember, an off day in this series. It's odd, but that's the way it works, that the two National League series end on Monday if they go 5. So with this starting on Tuesday, game 2 in St. Louis will be on Thursday afternoon. 4 o'clock start on ESPN. 4 o'clock Eastern. 3 here in St. Louis. Pitch out again. So 2 balls have been pitch outs, and the count is 2-2.
Chris, you talk about the off days. I think that's very difficult for the team that loses this game to sit around an extra day and stew over that loss and have to wait until Thursday before they get a chance to play again. And Caminiti, you know, he's had a tough day with 3 strikeouts, but he said the difference between his season this year and in the past is that he can put that behind him.
Here goes Gant. The throw, not in time. So Gant is second stolen base of the afternoon. And all the wheels were turning, but Gant busted Bochy's plan anyway.
Now they were playing cat and mouse throughout the entire Jordan at bat. Ron Gant guesses with Willie Blair, gets a decent jump. Quick look to the plate. Fastball down and away, and once again that throw from Johnson is high and late. Gant has his second stolen base.
Ronnie Gant now with 13 stolen bases in postseason play. Johnson and Blair will talk it over. Big spot here, eh? What a big run this would be if Jordan can single in Gant.
Well, they can go against the grain a bit on a 3-2 pitch to Brian Jordan because they've got a base open. I don't want to give in to Brian Jordan in this situation. Here's a guy that hit .422 with runners in scoring position for the season. If he wants to chase something off the plate, fine, but I'd just as soon start with a fresh count, even though the guy on deck is Gary Gaetti.
Who's already ruined you today. Makes a good pitch to Jordan to strike him out. So we head to the 9th here in St. Louis. The Padres looking for 2, or they'll go down 1-0. Top of the 9th here in St. Louis. The Cardinals clinging to that 3-1 lead over the Padres thanks to the bat work by their third baseman Gary Gaetti. With 2 on in the first inning, off Joey Hamilton sends it to the right center field seats. And it's not often, Buck Martinez, in this year of the hitter, that a home run in the first inning would stand up in the 9th, but that's where we are. Only Ricky Henderson's solo homer in the 6th has gotten the Padres on the board. So it's Dennis Eckersley against Brian Johnson to start the 9th inning.
Both of these teams realized how important the first inning was for their starter to get settled into the ball game, and Gaetti hit a changeup out of the ballpark off Hamilton.
Ground ball to second. Alicea, Mabry, 1 out. Sports Center immediately following us with Bob and Charlie and the gang. Of course, they'll have the complete report on game 1 of the Orioles walloping the Indians. Dolphins and Rams, we understand, an NFL trade, and I don't know what it is, so I'm going to have to tune in. They wouldn't tell me. And Sean Kemp, holdout. Are we worried about basketball already? Please, not that. As we suspected, Chris Quinn is on deck to pinch hit for the pitcher spot. This is Jody Reed. Jordan has it, and the Padres are down to their last out. Here comes the hero from Sunday for the Padres in the 11th inning. But Eckersley, the man of the hour on the mound, and everybody on their feet.
It's always an advantage to get up game 1, particularly in a 5-game series.
Inside, ball one to Chris Gwynn, younger brother of Tony, obviously. Ball two to Chris Gwynn. Ricky Henderson is on deck, so if Gwynn can get on, that changes things. There's Ricky on deck, who is homered. Strike one. Nancy Eckersley pleased with that call. Strike two. 2-2. As the Padres have come back at home before. Remember 84, down 0-2 to the Cubs. And this is only game one, but they don't want to get to that position. Chris Gwynn trying to keep their hopes alive. Grounder in the hole, base hit. Clutch hit for Chris Gwynn, and now it brings some power to the plate in the person of Ricky Henderson.
Chris Gwynn got a big pinch hit on Sunday to beat the Dodgers and wrap up the NL West. Keeps the hopes alive here, and Bruce Bochy gets to send Ricky Henderson up. And Henderson providing the only offense for the Padres here today against La Russa. And how about this triangle? La Russa managing, Eckersley on the mound against Ricky Henderson with the game on the line.
Yep. They've been there together before.
Remember, the fans were on Henderson last inning in left.
Strike one to Henderson, who was homered, walked, popped to third, and flew to left. One and one, low and away. Tony Gwynn is on deck.
Look at Ricky Henderson. He is very confident he's not going to get anything other than pitches off the plate outside. Eckersley trying to hit that outside corner with a couple of sliders. Dennis doesn't work inside very often at all.
Foul back. Just beneath us. Count is 2-2 with 2 down. Again, a strike away are the Cardinals. Ripped up the middle, base hit. Gwynn will make the turn and hold up as McGee charges quickly. So now the Padres have 2 on here with 2 outs in the 9th, and the National League batting champ is up. Tony Gwynn came up with 2 on in the 7th and was retired by Rick Honeycutt on a pop to short. And Dave Duncan certainly wants to talk this over with the Eck.
Eckersley's frustrated because he makes a bad pitch to Henderson and throws him a pitch on the inner half of the plate and up. Ricky takes it right back up the middle, and it took 2 at-bats for Ricky Henderson to really get it going here today. In his 3rd at-bat, he homered off Stottlemyre. In his 4th at-bat, he walked, and then he got a base hit to keep the Padres alive here in the 9th. And he's hollering at Eck right now. Good battle. Doesn't look like Eck's enjoying it as much as Ricky. Tony Fossas, the left-hander. T.J. Matthews, the right-hander.
Yeah, but here it is right here. Eckersley against Tony Gwynn. What more do you want? One of the best against one of the best. We're talking ever. They'll be together in Cooperstown together one day. They're together in St. Louis in the twilight. 1-1, low and away outside.
The last time Eckersley was asked to go an inning in 2/3 was in Montreal way back in June.
Strike 2. Gwynn singled with 2 strikes. Henderson singled with 2 strikes. Can Tony Gwynn deliver with 2 strikes? Outside, 2-2. Yeah, this is what you want. Supreme closer. Here's brother Chris on second. Says, plate me, bro. Down the left field line, but curving foul. Wynn returns. I'm sorry, Bob.
This is one guy that when you get 2 strikes in, you're not really out of the woods. Wynn hit .296 this year with 2 strikes. He's kind of like Wade Boggs in that regard. Toughens up.
Chris Gwynn at second. Ricky Henderson at first. 2-2 the count. 2 out. Top of the ninth. 3-1 Cards.
Rip. Oh! Eckersley makes the play. He'll be 42 on Thursday, and he still has the agility and the reflexes to snare a sure base hit that's going to make the game 3-2 and bring Steve Finley up. My goodness.
Well, you can see Eckersley knows that that was a tough one. But the Cardinals are ahead 1-0 here in this 5-game series. They got a great start from Stottlemyre. They got a key hit from Gaetti. And in the 9th inning, Dennis Eckersley picks up his 12th postseason save. He snares it off the bat of Gwynn. He knows he's got the save in his hand, and then he pumps to first base and pumps that right arm.
Round 1 to the Cardinals, who beat the Padres 3-1. Tony Gwynn and the Never Say Die Pods will be back on Thursday afternoon to try their luck again. But Eckersley came and pitched an inning in 2/3. We had home runs. We had pitchers duel. Good start to the National League playoffs.
Well, both starters had a good ball game. Joey Hamilton got touched up in the 1st inning, but after that he settled in. I think we got a great series ahead of us.
Yes, we do, and we'll be going to Los Angeles for game 1 of the Braves-Dodgers tomorrow, the second half of our double dip. Final score again, the Cardinals 3, the Padres 1. Thanks for everybody here in St. Louis. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For Buck Martinez, our crew in St. Louis, I'm Chris Berman. Thanks for watching the divisional playoffs on ESPN Sports Center with Bob and Charlie and the gang.